what's up, guys? Your boy from 260 back again on the block, like you know what it is. I don't play boy this my way, I do it. So actually someone actually told me to react to this. Shout out to Mark Angelo Manga. Yeah, he's the guy who actually recommended to react to this. Sounds interesting. Well, like the first thing that I'm actually seeing here is some graves. That means the man them actually about to get fucked up with it. So like if you know check it out. It's sort of persuading. Wow. Oh shit.
In honor of those who sacrificed their lives for freedom, Masid proudly presents the Battle of Yultong.
Oh, it's called the Battle of the Yultong. Actually, I think like the like Filipino was kind of colonized. I don't know about that, but I'm just thinking.
Story of how Filipino troops braved a sea of Chinese soldiers during the Korean.
Nah, is it like this? Is it for real? What the fuck? This is actually two-man troops.
Korean War. The Korean War began on June 25, 1950, when North Korea, backed by China and the Soviet Union, crossed the border into South Korea in an attempt to capture its capital, Seoul. In response, the United Nations Security Council, through the formation of the United Nations Command, ordered the deployment of military forces to stop the invasion. On August 7, 1950, President Elpidio Quirino, with approval from Congress, sent 7,420 Filipino combat troops to fight in South Korea. President Quirino saw this as a commitment to help a friend and as part of a larger battle to save the world from communism. The 10th Battalion Combat Team of the Philippine Expeditionary Forces to Korea was the first battalion.
This was mad, bro. I can actually send 7K troops to fight the fucking biggest war. Why is they fighting versus 3 countries? Is it 3 or 2? I don't know. They 2 or 1. I mean, Chinese, Korea, yeah, like type of shit. So I don't actually get it. Like, who was helping who here, though?
To arrive on Busan shores on September 19, 1950. The 10th Battalion, made up of 1,303 enlisted men and 64 officers, was originally a motorized battalion sent to operate tanks from the US, but when none arrived, was turned into a heavy weaponry unit instead. On the night of April 22, the 10th Battalion, as part of the US 65th...
This nigga is actually good with history, bro, because like me, when I did history in school, it was actually like a thing that was actually kind of fucked up, but like this nigga actually states dates, like what is actually like instating the time, but it's fucked up, it's good though.
Infantry Regiment of the US 3rd Infantry Division was attacked north of Yeoncheon by a large force of Chinese and North Korean soldiers. This would be known in history as the Great Spring Offensive, one of the largest offensives by the 44th Division of the Chinese People's Volunteer Army and the Communist North Korean Army during the Korean War. In front of the Filipinos were 4 Chinese divisions numbering about 40,000 men. Just after midnight, the Chinese began their attack with a heavy artillery barrage. Soon after, the Chinese forces advanced, but had difficulty as the 10th Battalion successfully defended their positions with mortar and artillery. However, a massive Chinese assault pushed the Turkish brigade from their position, allowing the Chinese to surround the Filipinos' eastern side. Seeing the incoming danger, Lieutenant Colonel Junicio Ojeda immediately organized a unit of battalion cooks and clerks to fortify and defend the east flank. With the help of M24 light tanks and artillery support, Lieutenant Colonel Ojeda...
Yeah, but then actually it was about like the M24 tanks though. I was like, with that shit, that means you're definitely blowing up the thing.
This makeshift unit was able to hold off the advancing Chinese forces. The situation only got worse when the Puerto Rican 65th Infantry Regiment, situated on the west flank, began to fall back from Chinese attack. With the west flank now exposed, the Chinese began advancing but were blocked by a platoon of Filipino soldiers situated on a hill overlooking Yultong. Commanded by Lieutenant Jose Arciaga, this platoon refused to yield and held their ground. This gave Lieutenant Arciaga's company commander, Captain Conrado Yap, enough time to mount a counterattack. The counterattack successfully extracted the trapped platoon from the hill and also stopped the Chinese from further advancing. But sadly, Lieutenant Arciaga and Captain Yap were killed during the fight. In the early morning of April 23, Lieutenant Colonel Ojeda led the second counterattack using M24 tanks. This caught the Chinese off guard and pushed them away from the hill they were trying to seize. The Filipinos fought until midday before it was ordered to withdraw and link up with the rest of the division in the south. 15 Filipino soldiers died. 26 were wounded.
15 out of 1,000. Damn. The soldiers, they're supposed to be brave as yeah, what the fuck?
And 14 were missing in action, while the Chinese and North Koreans lost around 500 soldiers. The 10th Battalion's effort at Yultong allowed the US 3rd Infantry Division to successfully withdraw from the battlefield, which would later on prove to turn the war in favor of the Allies. 2 weeks later, the Communists began ceasefire negotiations after suffering more heavy losses. For the next 2 years, the Korean War was mostly battled from hilltops until a ceasefire was finally declared. Out of the 7,420 Filipino soldiers sent, 113 were killed, 313 wounded, 15 missing, and 41 held as prisoners of war. Today, a monument stands inside the War Memorial of Korea in honor of the many Filipino soldiers who fought for the liberation of Korea. Recently, during the 69th anniversary
That was dope though. They actually
of the Korean War, the
Now
late
I
Captain
understand.
Conrado Yap was awarded the Taiguk Medal, the highest military decoration given to a soldier for bravery in combat. Also awarded the Taiguk Medal was fellow 10th Battalion team member Major Maximo Young for his heroism at the Battle of New-dong. The efforts of the 10th Battalion in the Battle of Yultong was instrumental in turning the tide of the war in favor of the Allied forces. South Korea remains a free democracy, thanks to the contribution of soldiers like the Fighting Filipinos, a name given by the US Command to the brave men of the 10th Battalion Combat Team. Did you like our story? Are there other heroic adventures of Filipinos you want us to feature? Let us know in the comment box.
Okay, we'll definitely let you know. That was actually dope. That was actually strong. And thanks up to Maggie, bro. Actually learned a lot. Like, Filipino soldiers, they always dope. They straight.